Film made a lot of difference to the Marine Corps because the Marine Corps was up for a fight of its life in 1946. Truman was then president, and it was determined that something would have to be done. Naturally, we could not maintain a 16 million man army, or not army, but armed force, and so there had to be major reductions. And now that what we've learned in all this big fighting around the world and everything, what do we need, and what should we get rid of, and so forth and so on. So there was the House and the Senate Armed Services Committees were holding meetings, and Truman set up a separate commission, which was to study the possibility of having a one service capability, sort of like the German staff way, I think. And in the course of that, the Army was trying very hard at that time to say that there was no need for the Marine Corps anymore, and they had made landings. They didn't, so that the Marine Corps, wasn't the only one that did it. They landed at, on the French beaches, but what they failed to state was that Marines over in England told them how to, and taught them how to do landings. So anyway, be that as it may, the commandant himself told Lieutenant Colonel Krulak, who was on a staff of people who prepared talking papers for him to go before these committees to explain why the Corps was needed. And he said to Krulak one morning, "I think I'm losing the Corps. Nobody understands what I'm saying up there at the Hill." And so Krulak came to me, and I was the chief operational photographic officer for the Marine Corps at that time, and said, "Can we make a film about what we did that I can take and show to the people up on the Hill?" I said, "Sure, just give me the money and the script." And we were off and running. So we got all that stuff sitting over at the National Navy Photographic Center in Anacostia, and we can do just about anything we need to do. And so we began to work together, and in a little less than a month, we had a quick and dirty 20-minute film called Bombs Over Tokyo. And it actually started with our first landing in the Bahamas by shooting paintings, things of that sort. And then the Indian Wars down in Florida, and that we were in, and then the Civil War, and all that stuff. That was very quick and very short, but it established all the years we'd been doing this kind of thing. And then we got into the Banana Wars, and down in the Caribbean, and we had film on that, some film on that. And World War I, we had some film on that. And now we get into World War II. And I want to show with some graphics that the aircraft that we had today, the B-29s, could only fly so far. It was showing it a fan shape. They'd fall in the ocean. So they needed something to land on to get to Japan. So that's why we had to take the islands. That's why so many guys lost their lives, were so airplanes could land, save their own lives. And so eventually, with us taking Iwo Jima, even though they had been flying from Saipan and Tinian, now that they could fly off of Iwo if they wanted to, it was only 600 miles away, we could really devastate Japan. So anyway, that's the way we went with the whole story. And everybody thinks that, in the final thing, that we build a film that glorified the Air Force, but when they do that, they miss the point of the story. And so anyway, Krulak took that, and with a projector, which was, about that wide, that long, about that deep, weighing about 70 pounds, and his roll of film, went up to the Hill, showed it to everybody that he knew or ever dealt with on the Hill, and he knew a lot of them. He showed it to the White House staff members, even though Truman didn't like the Marine Corps. And he also showed it to persons of responsibility in the city who were supporters of the Corps, one way or the other. And he came back to us about a month and a half later. He took a couple of enlisted men to carry all that gear. He didn't carry it. But he had to set it up. He had to have a screen and the whole business, So it was a big effort on his part. But he came back about a month and a half later, and he asked me to get another officer who worked with us on it, Carl Steele. And he told us, he said, the heads of the 3 commissions have told me that this film was instrumental in them deciding to keep the Marine Corps. So is that important? It sure as hell is.